What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 323 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we are joined by George Coito of Coivic Contracting, president and owner. 45 years in business, doing luxury landscape design build work, as well as many other avenues in our industry, which we'll get into in today's episode, as well as a wide variety of topics that we really just dive into throughout this episode. But if you are interested in learning more about Coivic Contracting, Knowledge Tree Consulting is going to be having an event at their facility in Milton, Ontario on August 20th. This is going to be a facility tour with different stations that you can learn about different aspects of the business, and then with talks given afterwards as well. I went to Knowledge Tree Consulting's event last year. It was awesome. I expect the same from this event, especially after talking to George here on today's episode. So if you want to go to that, go to the link in the show notes or send me a message at How to Hardscape on Instagram, and I can send you our promo code, which will save you a little bit of money there. And before we get into today's episode, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. Patio SEO has hopped on board as a sponsor, and they are a leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed. We've had him on the podcast a couple of times, some of our more popular episodes, and he owns hardscape businesses across the country. And now you can have access to the same in-house marketing team that he has access to at patioseo.com. So if you're looking for a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, check them out at patioseo.com. August 19th to the 20th, Knowledge Tree Consulting is having another event at Coivic. This event is in Toronto. Coivic is in Milton. I went to their event last year with Earthscape. It was awesome. I can't recommend this enough. There's going to be a link in the show notes for you to sign up for it and get 50% off your tickets today. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And without further ado, here's our interview with George. Today, we're joined by George Coito, owner, president of Coivic Contracting, based in Milton, Ontario. George, thank you so much for taking the time here to join me. Coivic Contracting since 1980, so 45 years. Amazing. George, thanks so much for your time here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I've been recently started listening to your podcast, and I think you're doing a great job. So this is good.
And we were connected by George Uvari, and they're going to be having an event at your shop I'm really excited about getting to know a little bit more about you during this interview, but also during that shop tour, facility tour, and seeing how you guys got things dialed in over 45 years here. But before we get into that, George, give our audience a little bit of context about you, yourself, how you got started in the industry, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mike. I got started in my teens. My father started Coivic in 1980 with a partner. My father was a foreman at Lakeshore Landscaping all through the 70s, and he started on his own in 1980. I would have been, I don't know, 9 years old at the time. And my dad and his partner, they split after 18 months. So it was the first three letters of my dad's last name and the first two letters of the other guy's name. And but 45 years later, the three letters from the other guy's name still stick, and that's how we came up with Coivic Contracting. And I started working with my dad summers in high school. I realized that I liked it. I think I liked it at the time. When you're young, you're not sure, but I ended up doing landscape architecture at Ryerson. So I have a degree in landscape architecture. I did that. What would that would have been 90 to 93, I think. And when I graduated, my dad had a very small company. It was 5 or 6 employees. He would lay everybody off, including the office staff, in December, bring everybody back in April, back in the days. That's how it used to be, I guess. And April 15th, he would start again and go for another 9 months or whatever that is. Anyway, so when I graduated, Ryerson, actually his office person actually said, "Hey, I'm not sure if there's enough room here for the both of us, George. I'm going to get a full-time job somewhere else, and you take over." So initially, 21, 22, whatever, however age I was, I started actually running the office, doing quotes, doing estimates. I probably started doing a little bit of design build, but at the time, we were actually working with some of the top landscape architects in Toronto at the time. Can mention all the names, but we started doing, even at the time, we were doing some nice projects, but it would be one project at a time, stop it, move on to the next project. And I realized also at the time that I enjoyed spending more time in the field, and I would do my paperwork in the evenings, probably like a lot of small landscapers. And we just kept going, and jobs kept getting bigger. I would say it was about 17 years ago, maybe 17, 18 years ago. I brought on a guy named Rob Lau. He came on to do my estimating and do all of that paperwork that I got tired of doing in the evenings. And Rob's also a landscape architect, but he does all our estimating. He now runs our design division. And as we started getting busier, Rob got an assistant, and then that assistant got an assistant. And we're certainly a different animal now. We're probably in total probably about 50 employees, maybe 40 something in the field. And yeah, it's just a different animal now than it was back then. So as we with Rob's design sense, ours, we've always been around, cutting edge design, always like again, like in the early 90s working with the top landscape architects, started with landscape architects in the city, we were always around great design. And I think still to this day, I think great design is probably one of the most important things. That's how the job starts. Classical design, that's timeless. That's one of our philosophies. So now I would suggest we're probably more than 50%, maybe 50 to 70% is design build. And we still work with a lot of those landscape architects that we worked with in the 90s. They're still around in the twilights of their careers, but they're still around. We do a lot of work with them. But again, I think design build has grown into a big part of our business as well. And so we do that. Where are we else? I think it was in '08, we had a bit of a recession. So I thought, what am I going to do with the guys? There's not going to be any work this year. There ended up being a lot of work, but we started a maintenance division. So we started four guys doing maintenance 1 day a week, turned into 2 days a week. Now we're up to three maintenance crews. I wish I could grow that part of the business. That's a challenge. We started at one point producing our own soils for our own projects, and we now sell soils to other landscapers and other garden centers. And then a big part of the business actually was about 15 years ago. We started trying to source trees. We do very, very high end residential. So, the typical suppliers that we still buy stuff from, by April, May, June, all the big specimen pieces are gone. So, and we plant all year round. We plant right till December. So I started sourcing really high end quality plant material and bring it in for our projects. And those landscape architects would come to our yard and say, "Hey, that's a beautiful Japanese maple. Could I buy it for another project?" I said, "Sure." So now that's turned into maybe 20% we bring in is for our projects, and 70, 80% we sell to other landscapers, other landscape architects. So that's become a whole business in itself, is the specimen tree nursery. And that we're really proud of. When we, we're not trying to compete against the NVKs, the Conans, the Dutch Masters. We buy from them. Actually, they're, good partnerships with them. But we're trying to be a little niche in the market where if you want to find a piece that is a hard to find, a 4 foot boxwood globe or a 5 foot yews or, you know, Japanese maples that are 4 inch caliper, like hard to find stuff. That's our niche in the retail wholesale market, I think, in Ontario, in the GTA anyway. And so I think a lot of other landscapers, landscape architects are coming to our yard to find the specimen pieces. And that's become, again, another whole business in itself now. In a couple of years, I actually joined with another landscape architect, and we started a design firm in Toronto. So I've got that business as well as that office is purely landscape architecture. I'm a part of that business, and that seems to be doing well. It's just getting going, and we're just in the initial parts of that business growing. So
Quite a bit of things there that you've got going on. These things sort of did they evolve naturally, or did opportunities arise that you decided to go go and capture that opportunity? For example, the maintenance division, the landscape architecture design, the sort of nursery that you have going on and soil, were all these things of just opportunity that arose that you just capitalize on, or were these like intentional things that you saw the business going in that direction?
Yeah, I don't think any of it was intentional, actually. It was, they're all, we've grown through opportunities, I guess. In '08, I wasn't sure how we were going to keep our guys busy. So I thought I would keep a couple guys. And sort of the opportunity was there where we would finish projects, we would hand off to other maintenance contractors in Toronto. A bunch of my clients were asking me, "Hey, do you know anybody better that does maintenance? Would you want to do maintenance? And you've done a great job for us." And I took that opportunity to start with three or four properties, and now it's turned into, I don't even know. I don't know how many clients we have, 50 plus, I guess. And we do with maintenance. I would love to do more. It's just staffing. Staffing is always the issue. So it's tough. I find it tough to staff because we do very, very high end projects. So, our guys are more gardeners than they are cutting grass, and some properties don't even have grass. And finding good quality guys that are seasonal. We pay our guys year round. Most of them, they're the leaders anyway, because you can't hire people. People have bills 12 months of the year nowadays. They can't let people go and expect to hire 45 people back every spring. That's been a cost of doing business, is making sure we budget for winters. And so that was an opportunity that's grown. I could grow that further. The soil production that became, we have some land which is beneficial, but we would be in Forest Hill and be a foot or 18 inches of great, beautiful topsoil. Instead of sending that to the dump, we would bring it back to our yard, and then we started getting into screening plants and all of that kind of stuff. It became as a recycling of stuff that we'd pull off sites if it was great material, and now it's turned into a whole other business. And so, we only use that stuff now for topsoil. For our garden soils, it's completely different, but we've evolved. We've evolved in how we produce our soil products. So that was just an evolution of a necessity of getting rid of dirt. And with the trees, again, the trees became a necessity. I had a project when we started the nursery. I had a project where, we needed for two projects 160 European beech for hedging, which has become a big part of what we do. And the local suppliers would laugh at me and say, 160, I can get you 16. And so we started having contract growers on the West Coast that would do our European beech. And then, if we're setting up a nursery for 200 beech, we know we're going to go through a dozen service berry. We know we're going to go through six or seven Japanese maples. We started setting that up, and now it's become 14 acres of a wholesale yard. So we don't grow anything. We buy from growers from all over North America, from Quebec down to New Jersey, as far down as Tennessee mountains, as far west as Oregon and BC. So we have a network of growers and actually I love my winters now because I travel in my winters and I'm walking through fields picking beautiful pieces of plant material. I'll walk through a field of 200 Japanese maples and I'll choose the three best ones or the six perfect specimens, and that's what makes it back to our yard in the spring. And so that's our niche in the nursery business in the GTA is finding those hard to find specialty pieces that high-end landscaper, high-end clients really want in their gardens. And you know, you can charge a lot more for that. That's a whole other podcast, and how to price your planting, because I think there's lots of money to be made in planting. But we can talk about that later.
You did mention that the '08 recession, you thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult, so you started the maintenance division to keep guys busy. You did say that it turned out that there was more than enough work for you guys. What do you attribute that to? If other landscapers found it a lot more difficult during that period of time, work dried up, but you guys seem to have stayed fairly consistently busy at that point in time. What do you attribute that to in Coivic contracting?
It goes back down to our foundation of doing really amazing work, or trying to do amazing work and top end work, like not cutting any corners in terms of quality. And what I have found then is that the very rich people always seem to have money. They're also business people, so they're negotiating. They're trying to get as good of a negotiate as best they can if they know they can, not like COVID where they would pay whatever it was to get whatever it was. It's different. Even right now, we're busy. We for 2026 we have $8 to $10 million worth of work already booked for 2026. We work on very large projects that take a long time. So what I think and we're lucky is that our clientele seems to be recession proof for the most part. And when in '08 when I was much younger, you in the news it's doom and gloom, and I would think that, and that's when I got really worried about it. But as now 30 some odd years into it and being through the ups and downs of the economy, I'm finding that I'm not as worried about coming recessions as I used to be, just because of the niche in the market that I think we're in. So
And that niche seems to have been there since went to school, came back. You'd already established these connections with landscape architects in the GTA, but then you did bring in some landscape architects as well in your business. Is that the plan moving forward to bring it all in-house, or is it still good to have that network of landscape architects throughout the GTA that you can still do work for?
no, I actually really, that's a great question actually, because when we first started and we had a little bit of a design build, we actually kept it very quiet. We didn't even really talk about it, didn't advertise, didn't promote. If a client ever reached out to us directly because of word of mouth, all of our work is word of mouth, we would actually say, hey, you know what, we work with some of the best landscape architects in the city, and let us recommend someone that suits your style and personality, and we would always kick back some work to the people that would give us work, and that worked well. And inevitably there'd be some clients that would, no, I don't want to hire a landscape architect, and can you just do it? And sure. And we wouldn't, our still the core of our business is, Toronto, Forest Hill, Rosedale, Bridle Path, Lawrence Park. And we would not do any design build in those neighborhoods. Maybe out in Oakville, because I live in Oakville, we would do a little bit of design build out there. But like I said, I think a lot of those guys now, and even when I bought that company with the other landscape architect, I approached some of those guys and I said, hey, and we've all realized there's enough work for everybody. And we will still to this day, if it's a client that wants to tender out and get quotes from multiple contractors, we'll say, well, you know what, you need a landscape architect to produce a working set of drawings so everybody's quoting the same thing, because as you know, there's so many ways to cut corners and things. So you need a specification so everybody's pricing the same amount of gravel, the same amount of concrete, the same amount of waterproofing membranes, drainage, everything that goes into a project. And so I tell the clients right off the bat, like, we can, Coivic, we can build from a conceptual design, and we have in-house people that will do shop drawings or whatever's required for a design build. We can build from that, and we don't cut corners yet, trust us. But if you want to go out to the tendering process and to make sure you're getting value, then we would recommend a landscape architect that will do a full drawing package for you, not conceptuals that you agree on, and then a full construction set of drawings that we can build from. And then that way, hopefully, ideally, everybody's quoting the same thing, and then you can have a comparison on what to quote on. Because from a pretty picture, I mean, it's up for interpretation at best, right? So, and people can, contractors, other people can take what they think that pretty picture, but the guts of that project are, we want to hope that everybody's pricing the same thing.
When it comes to everybody pricing the same thing, what and how do you communicate the value that Coivic contracting doing the project would be a better value, even if you might be priced, slightly higher, or maybe it is a low bid at that point in time when it's going out to multiple contractors. But how do you communicate the value of going with Coivic contracting?
Yeah, so like I said, I think our reputation kind of does help us a little bit, but our quotes are infinitely detailed. So if we're pricing projects, and generally they're north of 500,000 up to $4 or $5 million, we could have a quote that's 15 pages long, and we will have a line item for mobilization, a line item for every little thing, conduits. We have a line item for conduits underneath the concrete. We have a line item when we're pricing a driveway. We have a line item for excavation, a line item for gravel, a line item for the concrete base, a line item for the veneer, brick, stone on top. And where we're pricing a retaining wall, we show a cost for the footing, a cost for the concrete block structure, a cost for the stone facing, the waterproofing behind that wall is a line item, and the copings. And we do that because I think it gives the client a level of confidence that A, you know how to build, and B, there's always changes. So if we're changing from a 2 inch thick coping to a 3 inch thick coping or vice versa, there's that line item changes. It makes it actually easier in our office to when we're doing value engineering to get projects back into budget. But I also think that that gives the client a level of confidence, a level of transparency that they know they're getting value. And at the end of the day, where we become profitable is when we combine all those line items. So on a bigger project, if I've estimated sending two guys out or one guy out to waterproof behind the retaining walls, and we're going to allocate, they're going to do it in a day, but quite frankly, they might do it in 3/4 of the day or half a day. Well, we've billed for that day, but they've also at the same time have started working on something else on the same project. And so our efficiencies and our profitability is in trying to get through the projects as quickly and as possible. And so, but when we estimate what's the worst case scenario of what it's going to take to do that task because we don't want to lose money. We want to price it so that if I have to send out two guys just to waterproof, I'm at least covered in that. So anyway, that's how we quote. I think when we quote a demolition and removal for a project, we will show site supervision, trucks, bins of fill. Everybody knows it's going to be 10 or 15. That's not hard to calculate how many bins of fill will be removed from a site. You're going to need an excavator and a loader for 1 day or 1.5 days. And when you break it apart like that, it's transparent for the client. They're like, yeah, okay, I get it, I understand it. And generally I find we're much more profitable when we do that.
I did have a question that came in from George Avari, who I asked if you could ask George something for the podcast, what would it be? And it is along the same lines of landscape architecture. So, architects. So he asks, does it help having landscape architects on staff versus designers? And what has been the impact of that in your business?
We have both landscape architects and designers that they're trying to achieve landscape architecture status and get their stamps, and so they work under the tutelage and supervision of the senior landscape architect. So we encourage our employees to get as many credentials as possible. So that's great. But everybody seems to have a duty. So I think I'm not sure how to articulate this, but I think the most important piece of a project is the design. So you have to have great design. It starts with great design. And we go back and somebody who's educated has knowledge of classical design, and we go back to a lot of Europeans just seem to be much more importance into landscape design and architecture than North Americans. But we reach out to those designs and have a basic knowledge of classical design, modernist design, and we design based on the architecture of the house. If somebody's got a French country home, then our designs in landscape are going to be to that style. If we're doing a modernist home, then we're going to design to that modernist style, minimalist type designs. And I think design within context of the environment. You're not going to build a French parterre garden in Muskoka. You're not going to do a Muskoka waterfall in the backyard of a Toronto house. It just looks like a pile of rocks. So anyway, I think great projects start with great design and an understanding of plant knowledge. I think that's super important. We're really known for our hardscaping and stonework and concrete work, but it looks like a construction site until the plants go in. And I think what sets us apart is yesterday we had a photographer project that was planted 2 months ago, and he's already photographing it because we plant mature gardens. The clients are happy, they can afford it. It's
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. It's crucial to review your financial statements on a monthly basis so you can diagnose areas for improving your business's financial health early before they become significant issues. Too many contractors wait until the end of the year to review their financials as they file taxes, when it's often too late to take action to change the outcome. Cycle CPA not only handles bookkeeping and taxes, but they also ensure that you're armed with financial data on a monthly basis to make key business decisions. They offer benchmarking, cash flow forecasting, and assistance in developing targets for financial metrics. With their team of accountants specialized in the hardscape and landscape industry, they currently work with hundreds of companies in this field. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. We want to take a break from today's episode to talk about marketing. Are you looking to take your hardscape business to the next level? Well, this is brought to you by Patio SEO, the leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed, who owns multiple hardscape businesses across the country. And here's the kicker. You're not just getting access to any team. You're getting access to the very team that helped grow James's own companies, plus hundreds of others in the industry. Whether you need a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, Patio SEO has got you covered. They've been in your shoes and know exactly what works. We've had James Reed on the podcast a couple of times, and they're some of our more popular episodes, talking about branding, talking about how he's built companies across the country. And with that, he needs lots of leads, which means he's had to perfect his branding and marketing. And now you can have access to that same in-house team that he has access to for his own hardscape company. So if you're ready to build your brand and see some serious growth, check them out at patioseo.com. That's patioseo.com, or follow James on Instagram at road to 100ms. That's road to 100ms. Let's get your business the attention it deserves. Now back to the episode. George, going back to when you became owner of Coivic, were there things on your mind that you wanted to change in the business, or were these things that you were already able to implement change in the business before you became the owner? Or were there things that you knew would take a lot more time that you would want to tweak along the way, as you became the main decision maker in the business?
I don't know if it was a conscious effort, but there were certainly changes. I mean, when my father had the company, he was an immigrant from Portugal, and he had no education but hard work, and knew how to work and knew how to do good stuff. But we would have a blue van and a green van pick truck and a white other truck, and just what was available at the time. And at the time, really, really early on, as soon as I graduated, we started, okay, we're only buying white trucks. This is ridiculous. We're gonna came up with a logo. We updated the logo that he had. The logo we have today is basically like I think in 1980 he had a guy do a hand sketch of of the sun and a couple trees, and I think we've just updated that logo to modernize it. But I think we did that, and now in the neighborhoods that we work on, I hear all the time, "Oh, you guys, your trucks are everywhere," because they're recognizable. So I think that kind of helps a little bit and helps for our branding. Our trucks are always parked in front of the most amazing properties in the city. And trying to get professionalism, I think was a big thing. Like, now we're into safety and hiring practices and work contracts and all the stuff that as now, is required to run a business. That wasn't the case back then, right? And again, when you lay everybody off and they come back in the spring, that just doesn't happen anymore. So quoting a job, pricing a job, billing a job, and making sure that you have enough money to carry you through the winter is always a challenge, but it's much more like when we quote a job, and a lot of guys out there that are quoting the job, and hey, I made money on this job. Sure, you did today, but is that money going to carry you through January and February? So you have to price that in, I think. So things like that have certainly changed. Just bringing a level of professional. We were a small landscape contractor that wasn't very professional. So I think what I did is I also worked part-times at Kelsey's and restaurants and bartended and stuff all through my younger years. I would see how these places, these companies and big companies. I worked at Foot Locker for one winter. They have systems in place and training manuals in place for staff. And if you go to Starbucks anywhere in the world, you're pretty much going to get the same coffee and the same service. So developing those systems are ways to grow a business in a professional way that can be repeated. I think that was important, and that's kind of something that I consciously brought on.
Today in the business, what are your roles and responsibilities? What do you do on a day-to-day basis, sort of speak?
I think we've got a great team. I've got a great team of guys that I think the business can. I never used to vacation in the summer. Now I can go away for 2 weeks. It's no problem. But and really probably even a month. But we've got a good team. We've built a good team that can run the business. I just find it's much more profitable if I'm around. So those quick decisions, those decisions and looking out for potential hazards that have taken years of, again, since I was 14, looking at all the bad things that can go wrong on a project and trying to nip those in the bud. That's my role in the business is just driving profitability at this point. And I think that, I spend my day, our crews start at 6 a.m. Most of our jobs in the city, we're trying to beat traffic. So I spend, I'm usually there getting the crews going because inevitably every morning something changes, a flat tire, somebody didn't come, somebody called in sick. There was a change overnight, an email that came in, and the client no longer wants to do something. I don't know. 6 a.m. I think is the critical time to get the day started. So I try to be there then to help our project managers get the crews rolling. And then I spend my day driving around to the sites, making sure that those critical decisions and the things are happening in an efficient manner, because that ultimately it might drives profitability for our company. If we've estimated 5 days to do a job and we can get it done in four, then it's a $25,000 job. That's $5,000 in your pocket. And then you also then move on that fifth day, you move on to the next $25,000 project, do that in 4 days, and now that's $10,000 in your pocket. And that's really, again, my role in the company. And I run the business from my phone while I'm driving. I'm constantly on the phone all day long, and driving from meeting to meeting, driving from site to site. That's how I run the business now. And I think I've designed that job because that's what I love to do. I hate being in the office. My staff laughs at me if I'm in the office for more than 45 minutes, it's because there's a problem. So I really I've designed my job to what I love to do. I still I get to a job. I love jumping on a machine, and it's like a Tonka toy for me. So I still love that part of it, and my guys laugh at me, but that's what I enjoy.
So today, how is the company structured in terms of those roles and responsibilities? You mentioned project managers. Like, how many project managers do you have per crew? Um, who do you have in the office besides landscape architects and designers? Uh, and you have also mentioned your right-hand man there, Rob, as well, doing the estimates and everything. Is he the only one doing estimates? Can you give us a little like broader step back of the company kind of structure in that case?
Yeah, if we wanna start with the office, again, I own the company, but I spend my days in the field driving profitability. Rob in the office drives everything office. So whether it's designs and estimates, Rob drives all of that. We have a controller, we have an accountant that works with the controller. We have under Rob, we hired him an assistant as like a helper, and now he's down to three or four. So uh, junior designers, people that do amazing, like Rob still does most of the drawings by hand. We're old. On trace paper we'll sketch out a drawing, and the younger guys in our office will put on SketchUp and Lumion and do these amazing packages that we show clients nowadays, which is quite incredible. So there's one, two, three people that do that, I guess. But everybody does a different role. We still have a small company mentality. So one of the landscape architects that works under Rob, he also does most of our tree sales, 90% of our tree sales for the specimen trees. One of the other guys, he does project management, but he also does all of our shop drawings. So when most of our projects are very detailed, and most of our projects require shop drawings for almost every single piece of stone that's ordered. So when we're doing stone panels and paving on a job, almost every piece is numbered it had a shop drawing attached to it that went to the quarry that had it milled. And when it comes to the site, it's like putting together Lego or with shop drawings and numbered pieces that go in each location. So one of our project man he helps on he orders all the stone. He helps project manage the stone installs because he ordered the stone, so he knows exactly how it fits. The other guys don't need to spend too much time. Andrew came on board about 4 or 5 years ago. He's amazing. Had a small company. Hated doing paperwork in the evenings. Everything that's involved in running a small company. And basically, he's become the second me. So he basically does what I do, and then I just oversee everything. So he's got a good rapport with the employees. Part of a thing we've hired project managers before, and they come in and don't fit well with guys that have been working in our company for 20 years. And so personality is a huge thing, part of our team, being able to work within the team. So, and who else do we have? We have a guy's been years and years of experience, runs our nursery, runs our planting crews, mostly runs our nurseries, and then there's foremen in the planting crews. So we just got him an assistant this year because he's so run down and busy. And you'll meet him at our open house. He also manages our equipment. He's a busy guy, but great. And these are all people that we've acquired over the years, and some of our key people on site are people that started with zero experience and have become crew leaders over the years just because they have a good work ethic and they learn how we do things. That could be a whole other talk on that. We probably don't run our sites what I think most other companies do. I don't know. I'm not sure what other companies are doing, but we don't have a foreman, a project manager, a foreman, a lead hand. Typically, we don't have those types of guys, or with a definite title. There's not one crew that gets a set of drawings for that job and takes that job start to finish. We don't do that. We have 3 or 4 stonemason crews, depending on how we split them up. We have concrete crews, we have demolition crews, we have 2 planting crews. So depending on what happens on the jobs, and actually it's become a big part of what I do is every evening I kind of allocate. There's an email that goes out to everybody in the company, and it's basically your task and roles for the next day. So now we're starting a project. There's the guys that are really good with demolition machine work. They'll go in, they'll do the demo machine work stuff, load the trucks, get that stuff out. Sometimes the same guys, they're pretty good at excavations and forms. We do most of the stuff we do has full frost foundations for walls. So dig down 4 feet, pour a concrete footing, and then the next day, one of the stone crews comes in and does foundation block work. Then those guys move off to a different project. The concrete guys come back in and they do the concrete work. And then those guys go off site, and then a stonemason crew comes in. And what I found is of our stonemason crews, and everybody probably knows this, is that each stonemason, some guys are really skilled at vertical work. Some guys are great at panel. Some guys are good at horizontal work. And we try to allocate the best body for whatever task is happening. So it's a little bit more work for me and for the project managers, Andrew, because they can do it also. I just enjoy doing it. Is, hey, what do we need to work on tomorrow? And what bodies are best going to fill those roles? And so you can go to one job for 2 or 3 days, and then you're off to another job for 2 or 3 days, and then on to another job for a week and a half. And we are constantly juggling our team to the task at hand. And I think that leads to efficiency. That leads to, again, back to profitability. Efficiency means profitability. And so we don't really do things possibly how other companies do, where the same crew is doing the stonework, and then they're doing the planting, and then they're doing the concrete work, and then they're doing everything that's involved in landscape. Yeah, we're lots of different trades doing one thing.
I really like that crews for sort of different things, and they have a specialty. Do your employees seem to really enjoy that as well? And especially just coming into Coivic contracting, because I find, especially with myself and I know other guys, when you've been on a project for a long period of time, you sort of kind of get burnt out of that project. But when you have an employee that's jumping from 2 to 3 days here, hey, we're going to this job 2 to 3 days, and so on and so forth, seems to be a little bit more refreshing refreshing for them, and they don't get sort of burnt out of seeing the same site again and again. Do you find your employees enjoy that and specializing in certain things, especially for those like entry level employees as well? Do they ever ask to, hey, I kind of want to be on this crew and learn this as opposed to what I've been learning for the past whatever months or year or so?
Yeah, so I think all of that is true. I think that listen, when you're hiring individuals that will fit our team and how we do things. That doesn't work for some people. There's some people that they want to know what they're going to do today, tomorrow, and the next day, and maybe for the rest of their life. They want that certainty. That doesn't work with us. The guys that we hire, oh sorry, the guys that stick around that we hire, and we don't do a lot of hiring actually. Most of the guys have been with us for a long, long time. We'll have a couple new guys a year. Where that's another discussion where I think I've tried to transition into some younger blood in the company. But the guys that work with us, I think they love seeing. Listen, they love being part of a big machine and people and they accomplish good stuff. They're proud of the work they did that day but really proud of the finished result as well. And so, some days, I don't know, maybe there's not that much stonework and you're a stonemason, so you might help do a planting crew, and they do that. But I think it's probably the way my brain is driven. I don't know, maybe I have ADD. I can't be doing the same task for much longer than 5 minutes, never mind 3 days. But I think our guys, get some satisfaction from exactly what you said, is it's not monotonous. There's a change. And there's a reward at the end of that change, and really the guys have, it's unbelievable. They have a vested interest in the company doing well, and they realize that thing. And again, we're 50 grown men and personalities, and sometimes they get sick of working with the same guy over and over again. So for a whole season, for years, never mind. So I'm constantly juggling around, like, hey, you know what? Let's try this helper with that guy, and at the same time, that helper's learning how somebody else works. And the people that stick around learn all facets of when we hire somebody new. I tell them that we will probably try you on different crews doing different things. We want to assess what your skill set is and what you enjoy doing, and give me some feedback on what you enjoy doing, and we'll try to tailor the job as much as possible to what you like, and if it's something they love, they're going to be more efficient at it. They're not going to drag their heels during the day, right? So,
hey, are you planning to attend HNA Hardscape North America October 22nd to the 24th in Louisville, Kentucky? Well, you can use our promo code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets, or you can click the link in the show notes below to register for this. I've gone the past 2 years. It is awesome. A massive trade show along with the Equip Exposition with more than 1,000 exhibits, 42,000 square feet hardscape house, as well as a 30 plus acre outdoor demo yard that you can demo equipment. There's the HNA Awards ceremony. There's lots of educational sessions throughout the day, and there's more than enough events before and after the trade show itself. I've always enjoyed my time. I'll see you there. Use the code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets, and register sooner rather than later because tickets do increase leading up to the show. Knowledge Tree Consulting, George and Peter of Oriole Landscaping. You've heard me talk about them on previous episodes. They have an event coming up August 19th to the 20th. This is going to be a behind the scenes tour of Coivic, a second generation multi-division firm known for operational excellence and exceptional results. I went to a Knowledge Tree Consulting event last year. That was with Earthscape. You've heard me have Sam Bauman on from that business, and this was a really great event. I cannot recommend this enough. The first day, there's going to be a welcome reception and an optional networking dinner. The next day, early in the morning, departing for Coivic, doing the facility tour, which includes the shop, soil production, specimen tree nursery, office operations, and client experience. So you rotate through those different areas. And then after that facility tour, back at the hotel, there's going to be strategy sessions and then an evening dinner. This is in Toronto. The shop is in Milton, and there's going going to be a link in the show notes for you to get 50% off your tickets through the How to Hardscape podcast. So click that link, learn more about that event, and register today. I knew we'd run out of time before we ran out of topics here, George, but really quickly, kind of going off what you were talking about there, you did say that your employees have a vested interest in seeing the company do well. What do you attribute that to, and what do you attribute them sticking around with you as long as they have, especially the field staff in that case?
Listen, anybody can get a job going to work somewhere else for $1 more, $2 more an hour. I don't think people leave companies because of that. They might get hired by a company because they're going to make a little bit more money, but they're not going to leave usually to make a couple bucks an hour. Maybe if they're making $10 an hour more or something else, maybe possibly. But we do pay well. We pay very well. I think guys are compensated really well. We don't want to lose them. Training new people, you know how hard that is. But I don't think that's why people leave companies. I think when we have people coming to inquire about jobs at our place, I think they're frustrated with lack of organization, lack of process, lack of accountability, possibly. I don't even know at other companies, and I think that the guys are just proud of doing really good work. Like, sometimes that's my struggle. It's like, hey guys, we gotta do this, and my guys seem to be perfectionists. They're like, they want to do really really good work, and I think that's the bottom line. I think is that they want to be part of something. Most people want to be part of something pretty great. Look, it's. I don't know if it was by design. It's by chance. I'm learning this as I go. But I think for the most part, people stick around because, well, we treat them well, but they think they want to be part of something amazing.
George, as we wrap things up here, I do have a couple of questions. I'm going to skip a couple of questions that I usually ask, but a couple of questions that I always ask. And one of those is, what's one thing that you're struggling with right now in the business, or trying to improve in the business, or see as a improvement point in the future in the business?
Ooh, how are we struggling? Well, I feel like we're always struggling. I feel like we're always struggling, but I think we're always. I think for me, it's growing versus profit. So I kind of tell my staff, Rob and I discuss this all the time. Like, what's better? Is it better to make 10% of 10 million or 20% of 5 million? At the end of the year, it's the same amount of money, but it's half the headaches when you do 20% of 5 million. And so, gross sales has never been a motivator for me. Like, we're going to grow our company. We're going to do X amount of sales this year. That is, to this day and ever, that has never been a motivator for me. It is, hey, do we do this job? Is it going to be a profitable job? And inevitably growth happens, I think. If you do a good job and you're profitable, you have great cash flow. Cash flow is very, very important. I know we can analyze the numbers every which way is up and down, but cash flow is what makes or sinks businesses. And so cash flow is a big thing for us. And so if you do a good job, if it's profitable, if you have great cash flow, everything else I think will come along later. We've had another struggle. Again, some of the guys have been with us eh, the core of our crew has been with us for 10 to 20 years. I'm not retiring anytime soon. My kids look like they're leaning to come into the business. I'm now trying to build a team that's going to be some younger guys, inject some young blood into the company. And I used to say that for every 10 people we hired, one would be a keeper. And that's how we grew our team over the years. Those one keeper per year over 10 years gives you a solid core of 10 guys. And we don't, at the moment, we don't need people, but I'm hiring. I'm hiring young people. We took on 3 young people this past couple weeks, couple months. Maybe it's helping because there's a slowdown in the economy. I think we're getting much more resumes than we ever did. So we're just taking advantage of that. Not necessarily that we need them, but it's almost like it's an investment in the future. Having them work with our crews so that it's costing me some money probably right now, but I'm looking at it as the future is onboarding these some younger guys into the business. The guys that'll be with us for the next 10 to 20 years is what I'm hoping. So yeah, that's always a struggle.
And last question for you. What's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning? This can be personal related, this can be business related, but do you have one thing that you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning?
Oh, Jesus. So many things. Um, I feel like I'm still learning every single day, right? Like I'm every day we're learning something. I'm always looking for better systems in terms of machinery, in terms of equipment, in terms of better construction practices. We always want to be on the leading edge of systems. Construction practices evolve, construction materials evolve. We always want to be at the forefront of all of that. We started doing Schluter membrane underneath between all of our concrete work and all of our stone work because if concrete cracks, inevitably it does, those cracks don't transfer up to the stone above. So, we add $3 or $4 a square foot to every patio now, and for the most part, and we install a decoupling membrane in between. Those are things that we learn and we see, whether it's not even in our industries per se, but in the construction industry, and we try to be at the forefront of that. I feel like we try to fix problems and nip them in the bud. I think generally as entrepreneurs, we are fixers. And so we are constantly encountering problems and constantly trying to fix those problems. And I don't think that ever ends. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like that never ends. So.
Well, George, I really do appreciate your time. I've got many more questions if you ever want to hop on for a follow-up here, round two, if you will. And George, where can our audience find out more about you, Coivic Contracting? Where do you want to send them to? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I would love to do this again. I can go into depth into a lot of the stuff that we talked about. And we're getting at the point where, I think that we want to get, raise the industry, raise the standard of the industry. I really would love to be a part of that if I could, and I could learn so many things. But yes, you can find us we have a website, Coivic Contracting. Generally it's just a portfolio of stuff we've done over the years. And Instagram, I guess we have an Instagram account that we try to keep fresh, but we're not very good at that kind of stuff. So.
Gotcha. George, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Once again, if you want more information on that Coivic Contracting event hosted by Knowledge Tree Consulting, facility tour, and different stations set up to learn more about Coivic Contracting and how they operate their business, link is in the show notes, or send me a message at HowToHardscape for a promo code to save a little bit of money on your tickets there. Also, George mentioned Coivic has an Instagram account that's spelt Coivic if you want to see some of the beautiful work that they do there. And before we leave you, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA, if you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. PatioSEO.com. And now you know Patio SEO can take your hardscape business to the next level. James Reed and his expert team have built a reputation on success, not just for their own companies, but for hundreds of others just like yours. So don't wait. Visit PatioSEO.com to learn more and get started. But also be sure to follow James's journey on Instagram at Road to 100 M's. That's Road to 100 MS for behind the scenes tips and insights. And I do recommend checking that out and following along to that. Ready to build your brand? Patio SEO is here to help you every step of the way. August 19th to the 20th, Knowledge Tree Consulting is having another event at Coivic. This event is in Toronto. Coivic is in Milton. I went to their event last year with Earthscape. It was awesome. I can't recommend this enough. There's going to be a link in the show notes for you to sign up for it and get 50% off your tickets today. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.